Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Input Left's Pokemon Diamond Randomizer Nuzlocke. I wasn't sure how I was going to introduce it that time for some reason. I was like, do I go with episode 40 off the bat? Or do I just start with the series name? Well, it's episode 40 either way. I'm joined, as always, by my preeminent host, Joe. And my name's Will, in case you've forgotten.
Episode 40 is important because we've entered, out of the fun years of life, I think it's in The Great Gatsby where it's a big line when he says, I'm 40 now. Or was it 30?
I don't...
Either way, it was like a new decade, you're older now, wiser.
Yeah.
No longer a kid, can't have the same fun of youth.
No, you can't.
If this game was fun to begin with, if it is no longer going to be fun. It's going to be the chore that being 40 is.
Yeah, I think we are actually getting to, in my opinion, one of the slowest parts of the game. I think the worst part of the game is still between gyms 2 and 3, but there's another really long gap coming up, basically. But before we get into that,
oh, you did what I recommended.
You may have noticed if you look at the bottom screen or the right screen, I did. So Joe came up with an idea for how to reorient the team since we accidentally overleveled Greta the Azumarill. And I thought it was a pretty good idea, actually. So I went ahead and I grabbed Pelosi, the Tentacool, now a Tentacruel, and Mori, the Uxie, that we just caught at Iron Island. And I leveled them up. I took the Koch brothers off the team. It gave the Black Sludge to Pelosi. And yeah, this is the team. We've still got a few more gym trainers left to fight, which is why not everyone's level 39. So this episode, hopefully we'll take care of all of those, and then we'll do whatever little bit of grinding is left before we take on Byron himself. One other note, I didn't just grind up levels. I've been talking for a while now about how we have access to essentially infinite money if you grind in the underground and sell everything off. And I felt that we were getting to the point where I don't have a lot of free time, right? Like I'm working full time. This is a labor of love for me. So I used some little cheats, some little action replays to basically give us infinite money and purchase as many copies as we want of purchasable TMs and like Pokeballs as well and stuff. So not infinite Master Balls, obviously. We already stated it's 1 per location. There's nowhere selling rare candies, so I couldn't get infinite of those either. I have to grind up people still manually. But there's a bunch of TMs I got, and I'll show you. I also got the Game Quarter TMs because those are effectively infinite as well if you have infinite money, because you can just keep buying coins over and over again. So let's see. Yeah, I used Ice Beam, for instance, on Pelosi.
You got Toxic Spikes. That's great.
This is a crazy moveset, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, on Mori. Psychic, Thunderbolt, Giga Drain. These are all replenishable TMs. Calm Mind is actually a one-use TM that we had, and I used it on Mori. I thought it was a good use. No changes there.
You should use some PowerPoint up on the 10 moves.
It's true though. Yeah, we do have I think we found there's a PP up we can buy here in Canalave. So with infinite money, we could just get max PP on everything. I'll probably do that at some point. Any other changes? I think flamethrower instead of flame wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could remove those HMs on him now. Any of them?
Yeah. I think now might be the time. I need to actually look up. I forgot to
I think
any other uses for those.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, I meant if there are any other times we're gonna want to have those HMs or not. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, we've got a couple gym trainers to fight, so we'll get on with that.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, leveling them up.
Yep. And yeah, as I said, it was sort of Joe's idea to put Moria on the team and Pelosi as well and everything, and I was like, no, it's a pretty solid reorganization, if you ask me.
Yeah, and Pelosi is unfortunately on our team whether or not we want her to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a facilitator. She's a power broker. So,
Indeed.
I had something I really want to talk about this episode. That
Uh-huh.
you had given me a suggestion to watch something. You and one other person, Hala, my friend Hala. And so you are two of the most influential people in my life when it comes to if you tell me recommend something to me, I take it seriously. Probably a combination of, respect and like just overlapping interests. And so
Whereas most people, they recommend something, you're like, yeah, okay, and you just file it away and you never think about it again.
That happens a lot with my brother. I have a long list of anime I'm supposed to apparently watch. I'll get to it hopefully one day.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of
I know what you
time.
mean.
And then, other friends of mine recommend things that I'm like, oh, that sounds like I would actually like that if I had the time. But there just has to be a filter because, limited time. Also, I feel like at some point I don't know. I guess some people can binge watch every show and go through the Netflix library. But for me, you start seeing over and over again the same themes, the same things, and like,
yeah.
So I have a pretty high filter at this point. But you both recommended I watch Bo Burnham's Inside, and it was also, that one was easy of a recommendation to take because I really liked the specials that he did when he was, basically a kid, a young man, and
Right.
wow, what a trip. What a trip, I gotta say. So, I mean, I could just start ranting about, or maybe ranting has a negative. What does ranting have a negative connotation?
Yeah.
I could go on.
It can, not necessarily though. Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe we don't want to give away too many specifics because right. I recommend that you at home viewers go ahead and watch it. It's on Netflix, so if you have a Netflix subscription, you can watch it. But even if you don't, I think the entire album of songs, at least, is on Spotify, so you could also listen to those if you wanted. And a few of the music videos, basically with the songs, are on Bo Burnham's YouTube channel as well.
Yep.
And yeah, I would just say it's a really great sort of like, post-mortem, even though it's not totally over for many people, on the pandemic, sort of. The premise is basically that Bo Burnham, was more or less inside, for most of the pandemic, as were a lot of of people during this time. And he created this sort of one-man show special over this entire length of time, like basically over the course of an entire year. And it has, like a lot of classic Bo Burnham comedy, I think. But there's a lot more to it than just that as well. And it's a really interesting experience, and I think it's worth checking out. Even if you maybe haven't always liked his style of comedy, because I'm not somebody that was always a big fan of him. Unlike Joe, I kind of found him a bit off-putting when he was younger.
Yeah,
it was too edgy.
I get it. It's kind of like that intelligent, smart humor, and you couldn't really follow along.
I just couldn't it was over my head. Yeah.
What is that?
But I think that he's
meme.
Yeah. To be fair, you need to have a really high IQ to understand Bo Burnham's early parodies. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think that even if I was just gonna say, like, I think he's really come into his own in many ways with his style, and it's I found it very engrossing to watch.
What I will say is, like, even in the early days, and I don't think this is really a spoiler, like, it's pandemic centered, so without talking about the pandemic, but so it is focusing on kind of the mental health aspects of isolation, and mental health like themes were definitely present in his early work as well. And it's kind of really fascinating to see how here we are, apparently it's 5 years he mentions this, like, I haven't performed in 5 years because of panic attacks, and then you get to see, oh no, shoot, now he's totally isolated, which apparently, like, he isn't actually totally isolated in real life. Like, he was living with a partner and a dog or something. But still,
Yeah,
like,
but which doesn't like take away from anything.
Right.
Though. Like, I saw some people threw that out there. They're like, well, this isn't really true because he had a girlfriend and a dog, so therefore it's all a performance. And I'm like, well, obviously it's a performance to an extent, but like that doesn't, the fact that he has like a girlfriend and a dog doesn't invalidate like his feelings of isolation and like depression. I don't know. It's kind of a weird take by a couple people I saw online, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. There's some of that. There's always gonna be a haters, but I don't know. I wish I'm trying to figure out. Like, I really want to talk about some specific songs here, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So I'll say like pretty vague.
I think
yeah.
I was gonna say like there's a couple that are on like YouTube, like "Welcome to the Internet," for instance. I think I wanted to talk about that one at least. I think that's probably one of the most popular.
What about the sock puppet one?
I don't think that one's up yet.
Okay. Well,
and that one you kind of have to experience for yourself almost. Like, even though it is relevant to us in some ways, you know.
Go watch this. There's just to be pretty vague about it. There's a scene where he's doing a sock puppet like scene, like musical number. It's so great. If you like this show, this will be right up your alley. He also has an homage to Jeffrey Bezos twice.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, which is the most. I'm just gonna say this one like because it is a short song. It's just goofy, but
yeah,
it's he goes, CEO entrepreneur Jeffrey Bezos.
You did it, Jeff.
You did it. Yeah, you did it. You did it. Yeah, that was my favorite part. Yeah. And then obviously Welcome to the Internet, which wow, like it was so that one was actually like okay, I still purchase songs on iTunes, which I know a lot of people don't do that anymore.
I do too occasionally. I'm a fucking boomer, dude. Yeah.
I like to own my music. I don't like to just feel like I'm streaming it and like if it goes down, it's
I
gone
am the same way.
Yeah. So
and you can download it as well, you know, and then like listen to it offline if you're
exactly. And yeah, that ages us for any Gen Zers out there. But
I mean, we are Gen Z.
We're cusp.
We're older Gen Z, but the cusp of millennials is often like, you know, like 30-year-olds and like high 20s, 30s, and we're like low 20s. Like we're definitely Gen Z. We're just on the older end.
I think the difference that I would say is, you know, the internet and access to smart technology are two like separate technically. So like smart mobile technology, right, are two separate but defining, you know, features that kind of seem to go hand in hand. And like, I grew up on the internet, but I did not grow up on a smartphone. Like, I didn't get that till I was in 8th grade. You know, about to get into, and that's different.
I'm the same way, but we also did kind of like that. Yeah. Like 13 being your first introduction to a smartphone is still a lot earlier than it was for millennials who were like already adults when they got their first smartphone.
But this is why I feel like it's a cusp thing, because the Gen Z kids that I know are on iPads when they were 2. You know, like that is a very different.
But those people, I would almost argue that those people are almost going to be in a new generation of their own because they're not even adults yet. Like they're still like kids. Those people, right? I'm
not on TikTok. So, there's other things, but you make a good point.
Yeah. But here's the thing: like people our age, some of them are big TikTokers. I'm not, right? And that makes me feel a bit older for sure. Is that like I just don't really care about TikTok?
More mature.
But there are plenty of no, not more mature, just older. There are plenty of people our age though who are big into TikTok. Yeah. So it's like,
well, I'm sure. There's...
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we're like.
Sure, there's
we're
40.
kind of cusp, but it's not like we're borderline millennials. I wouldn't say that. I'd say that we're just like an older chunk of Gen Z. Because another thing is that like, yes, we didn't have smartphones when we were very young, but like social media was already a thing when we were kids. Like it started out with like, you know, more AIM and like MySpace and stuff. But I was in like 3rd or 4th grade when that was becoming a big deal, right? So I still feel like there's a lot of those influences on us as well.
Totally. I'm
we're
not,
getting a little sidetracked, but
I
where'd you get it?
I might be chuggy, but I'm not avocado toast at a restaurant kind of guy. That so
yeah, that's millennial, isn't
sorry,
it?
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just saying if we're ready to fight the gym later.
Well, no, I think we gotta grind it up a bit. But I was gonna say,
yeah,
before we did that, I do get avocado toast sometimes. It's not bad.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I put avocado on toast. Well, I would never order that because it's way overpriced. But like,
that's true.
But
well,
like,
I mean, it depends because like some avocado toasts are like, they're not just toast with avocado on it. They have like they have like
pepper,
higher quality like fresh made bread. They've got like
wheat bread,
cayenne like pepper flakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Some additional.
But I thought it was funny.
Spice it up,
this is a tangent, but I thought.
Oh yeah, well this whole thing's been a tangent.
This whole thing has been a multi-part tangent. But what I will say about avocado toast is it's one of those things where when I was a kid, like avocado it started off like it was really cheap. It was more because it was a cultural food. So I would eat avocado all the time. Like my dad would always cut up avocados. And like also coconut water was cheap. And then when it became the millennial thing, it became a white person thing. Like avocados then became expensive, and coconut then became expensive. And it was really funny because like in college there were a few times where I would talk to friends and they were white friends and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'm getting some avocado, and they'd be like, that's so millennial. And I'm like, no, I'm Latino. That's just my cultural food. But anyhow, well, I wanted to cap off. Wait, what are you grinding now? Okay.
Yeah, although actually I realized I still haven't fought these trainers, so I guess I'll do that first.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to say about Bo Burnham, though, and it goes back to your point about it being, what do you say? Not closure, but like
a post-mortem kind of.
Post-mortem. That this for me, like I felt since I'm vaccinated and I'm back to kind of living some semblance of like the pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic life. It felt like some beats probably weren't hitting me as hard as they would have if I was still in isolation, like if I was still in like, lockdown. So that's one thing. But then the other thing on the opposite end is like, it still kind of took me back to those moments, the harder moments of that, and the kind of desperation when I felt like, when will this be over? Or when I heard like scientists say it could be another 2 years, and you're like, oh no. And I feel like that this piece is going to be end up being like a time capsule. Like people could go back to this in 10 years, and I will, like in 10 years, 20 years, assuming there's not another like quarantine between now and then. And this will be, I haven't seen anything else like it that will take you into that emotional place in such a unique way, and also capture other things about society that were happening in the moments. A lot of alluding to it, like the internet, the way it evolves, right? The way social justice issues are evolving, and so I don't know. I think it's really going to take us back to the year 2021 when we watch it in 2020.
I think almost more 2020, but
well, okay, that's whatever. But I mean, what I'm saying is in 20 years it'll take us back to this kind of time we're living in.
Yeah. Well, that I agree with you 100%. That like, sort of seeing like the different moments in time when he's like recording all of these, when it's just like a couple months after the lockdown began and everything, I definitely felt these feelings of like, oh my god, like I almost forgot about that. Like, how could I have forgotten what that was like, you know? And it was really quite fascinating, I think, to have that experience almost again through another person's eyes. One thing, and this is kind of weird, I'm sure, and some people are going to be like, okay, you're way overdoing it here. But when I was watching the special, it almost felt like I was like watching like a modern day like artist, where like obviously he is an artist, but what I mean is that like it felt like I was watching like Picasso paint almost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it felt very artistic and very like unique in many ways. It's not totally unique, obviously. It's not like nobody's ever done anything like it before. But I just feel
It's
like
pretty
it's gonna
unique.
be remembered.
I think I agree with you. My personal take, and this is interesting. My dad also. I was watching this with my whole family, and my dad afterwards, he was like, I don't really get it, but this guy's a genius. Like I can tell. Like I can tell he's such a genius. I don't personally get what he's like going for, but like you can tell that, and I do get it a little more, but I think none of us know exactly what he thinks when he's because I think there's such a blend of like some of it you don't know what is he trying to be absurdist about versus what is he like actually believe, and there's a lot of that too, but I just the level of editing that he if we were to believe him, and he probably did like the vast majority if not all of this editing, and that's what folks are saying, and that's what he kind of claims, and he did this whole home setup like for one individual person to produce what he did from small like that small of a room. That is wild. Like there's very few people that could do that.
Yes,
and
it
and
feels
I agree.
so
And you see his creative
effortlessly high
process.
quality.
And there are moments where like that are put in and they're for last, where he's like take one and then he like messes up, and like it's kind of funny because I don't suppose this would be an encounter because that would be
No, this is where we got Yuxi.
two in a
So I can't really complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of it where like I'm curious, what is him just after the fact, like throwing this in because it adds artistic value versus like, I don't know. So there's a lot of like, you just don't even know what level of depth you're in for any scene. And you get a lot into his mind. I agree. I think it's a work of art. I think even more so than a work of comedy. There are things I laughed at for sure. But a lot of it was like, that's just amazing what he did. And like the white woman's Instagram, right? Like every single like there's a song
that was
where
incredible.
there's a song where he's playing up like he's just basically doing scenes that would be on Instagram, and every single one feels like you've seen it before.
Yes,
it's amazing.
That was
like
it's probably the simplest and like least deep song in the entire performance, though there is still depth to it, I would argue. Particularly there's one moment in the song that really I think gets it something more. But even still, even with all of that, it's like it's executed so excellently. Like I was watching this and I was like, oh my god, like this is so incredible. Like how did he accomplish all of this? Again, in one room,
right?
Basically one person doing all of it, like
doing the lighting, doing the costume,
like all the props, like constantly. It's crazy. It's so cool.
And so that to me is a prime example. But there was another one. There was another thing. Either way, you get into this, you see his level of like his process. And again, it's hard to tell like when he came up with something, like did he accidentally do something and then decide to keep it, or I don't know. It's and the editing is brilliant. So yeah, go and watch it. The one other thing I was gonna say that is very relevant to the channel is like he does the Let's Player he does a Let's Player gaming one, and then he also
like a
does
Twitch streamer,
but the React video where he reacts to the reaction. I've literally seen that before, but he obviously like takes it on to a new level, right? That is the So without any more spoilers, go watch it. Go listen to it if you don't have Netflix, though most people at this point have some way of watching Netflix. That's all I'm gonna say. And then if you want more Bo Burnham, go listen to some of my favorite ones of his older stuff is Left Brain, Right Brain. I really love that one. Do you know that one?
I don't think I do. Like I've only listened to like sporadic parts of his other specials and stuff. Yeah. I was gonna say I haven't seen it yet, but he recently, like after sort of taking a big hiatus from live performance, he directed his first feature-length film
Yes.
called Eighth Grade, and I heard
Yes.
it is incredible. So I actually really want to watch that at some point.
I've heard it's good. Yeah, at some point I do too. I think that's been in the work for years though, or there were talks about it at least. Oh, this dude's a little sus.
This is the Lucario dude. Yeah.
Oh, is he gonna give us Lucario?
He gives you a Riolu egg at the end of it, but I would count that as an Iron Island encounter, and
Okay.
it's obviously randomized. But yeah, we already got it. Our encounter.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our discussion, I guess, on
Yeah,
on Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham. Yeah, I was gonna say left brain, right brain is a great one. He on live performance, he kind of uses lighting and things to indicate that he split his brain into his left and right brain, and then he has a song which is a conversation between like he and himself. One is left brain, one is right brain. That's great. That's a classic. There's a song he does making fun of modern country. So I don't know. I visited his old
That's
stuff.
one of my. That's like the first song of his I listened to that I legitimately really liked.
Yeah.
All this
Yeah.
pandering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Exactly.
good. He also the voice he does is like really good as well.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's a similar one where he's making fun of like love songs, and so he goes. It's very similar. He goes basically like, what is it? I love your hair. I love your face. Like, and the song basically is like, making fun of that pop, culture of it. But he starts like making jokes about like, oh, like we can't say like I love your two arms because it would alienate the people who have only one arm. But oh wait, they can't use iTunes, so he really just fuck them who needs them. So it's it's about the monetization of that love songs basically, and the country one too is like oh, it's rich people singing about how their country lifestyle. Which is great.
It's what's good about that is that like it's not just making fun of country music and like putting down people who like country music. It's making fun of the people who like pander to a more mainstream working class audience about how they're like one of you and they understand all of like the rough and tumble country life, when in reality they've never lived that life, or at least they haven't in a long time,
Ooh, synthesis.
That might actually be pretty good. I almost wonder if it's better than Leech Seed at this point. I feel like I'd never use Leech Seed and I might never, but it's also, I feel like Curse Synthesis is better than Curse Leech Seed is set up.
Yeah. You go for it. And we can PP up that synthesis.
Yeah, you can get up to 8. Yeah. It's the only reason is like Leech Seed is still that like wall breaker potentially.
Remember, does Leech Seed carry over if they switch out?
No. But if you switch out, it does. So.
Yeah, because you could set up Leech Seed that switch into someone else, which is good too.
Right.
All this theory that we never actually are gonna do.
I mean, we might though. Is the thing. Like, I don't know, we have a pretty strong team, such that we've never really felt the need to like Leech Seed stall something.
But you're right. It could eventually come in handy.
I think I'm gonna get rid of it for now because it feels a bit less consistent. But we can always change that. Although we haven't found a place to purchase heart scales yet. You can get infinite heart scales from the underground because they're something that can come up from there.
Right.
So we could just give ourselves as many as you want, honestly. Dragon Rush is not like that's like the really low accuracy, high power one, and I'd rather just have Dragon Claw.
Okay. Well, I think this is a good place to end this episode.
Yeah.
So
I'll probably just I don't know, maybe I'll do a little bit off screen because we're almost all there.
Okay.
And then just start with the gym battle. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Subscribe.
Hope you enjoyed that little discussion, that little advertisement for Netflix there. We're not sponsored.
Comment if you've seen the new Bo Burnham or if you've seen any of his old stuff, and what songs you've liked. So Will has some direction and realizes the artistic genius of this man even in his youth.
Yeah, please,
yeah.
please.
See you next time.